Cool. Yeah, keep us in the loop, and Mike will hopefully show you something that blows your mind associated with CDN.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
That's why he keeps saying the word CDN. So, you ready? You ready to 1-1 TY it up? Is that what it is? 1-1 TY.
Yep, 1-1 TY.
1-1 TY. I like it that way better.
So yeah, last week we were just playing around with putting the magic script that Brian had shown 2 weeks ago, where it basically auto loads every web component that it finds on your website that it knows about on a CDN registry. So what we did was we showed us putting that magic script on a static site generator called Eleventy, and then just putting web components on there, and they automatically worked. So this week we took it a step farther, and we wanted to see what it would be like putting the HACS editor on this site. So what HACS Eleventy, which is a starter project on the Elms. Oops, am I sharing?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, there's no green outline around my monitor for some reason. Anyhow, this is a starter project for that HACS Eleventy mashup. So what this relies on is a server that's called, and the documentation's all weird for this because I just pushed it up, but it's actually called under the at HACSCMS/11D namespace on NPM. And if you install this, it'll give you access to a CLI command called HACSCMS, or no, that's not right either. Geez, my documentation's all messed up. This is still in development, heavy development. Gives you access to a command that's called HACS Eleventy. And what that'll allow you to do is two things. It'll allow you to serve an Eleventy project, which will give you access to the HACS editor. And then two, it'll allow you to build do a build of that project, which basically rips out the HACS editor and allows you to publish a really performance static site. So here is this boilerplate, this project. And if I run, now that I've downloaded that, if I run HACS Eleventy serve, this spins up two little servers. It spins up an Eleventy watcher, so it's compiling all of my Markdown and HTML files into a static site, and then it's actually running an ESDev server that has some HACS specific functionality baked into it. So here's our site. This is a purely static site, and if I go to post 1. It should, so it should show you a little edit button. So this is a totally static site, but we now have the ability to edit this. So that HACS magic. So we can add this. Magic header, and I'm going to hit save, and you can see that it's saved that to our file in our Eleventy file system, and then it recompiled, did a full rebuild of the site, and now here's my new site with that new content in it. So now what I can do is I'm ready to publish. I'm going to type HACS Eleventy build. This publishes a site to this _site directory. I can go to post 1 and oops, I have an old service worker in there, so I'm going to clear that out. But if I go to post 1, you can see that I have the new content without the editing button. So on this server, if I inspect it, you can see that there's a Hack Store tag. So there's a little tag that's called 11D Hacks. It's enabled, and what that does is it injects the Hacks wrapper around the content area, which gives me the ability to edit this with Hacks. Okay. So this is this example isn't specific to 11D. This is a concept of adding a Hacks workflow to a static site. So how we do that is actually pretty simple. We have the ability to tell it whether I want Hacks enabled or not, first of all. So in 11D, I'm saying if there's an environment variable that's asking HackCMS to be enabled, I'm going to return enabled, which in 11D land, this data is like global data. So anything under HackCMS enabled, it's going to turn that into an actual variable that I can use in all of my templates. So in my template, this is for the posts template. I have a web component that has 11D Hacks, and it's it's printing that HackCMS enabled attribute there. So if it's enabled, it's going to get an enabled attribute. If it's not enabled, then it's not going to get anything. And basically, this web component won't render the Hacks editor in it. And if we look at how, let's see here. Trying to think of what all I want to show off. Yeah, that's pretty much the demo there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Brian can actually elaborate on what's going on with the web component specifically in this demo.
Well, so I guess there's two things here because we've never talked about import maps before.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
This is also showcasing an import map shim. But can you go up to the top, Mike, of the document with all the metadata? Yeah. So this blob of code, I more or less came up with from internal tests with HackCMS. And then I think Alex Russell, who's slightly late on Twitter, gave a run through like detailed performance, like, hey, do this, do this, do this, for a lot of things in here. But basically, you can use these link rel preconnects, preloads, and module preloads in order to skip on a lot of the time to first paint types of issues that can pop up. So particularly on a lower performing device, these things will start to inform the device as it's pulling the DOM over the wire, hey, you need to go get these. And so even though it hasn't gotten to the bottom, and even though it hasn't gotten to the magic script that does most of the work, it's aware of that it needs to start loading these files. Module preload is not universally supported. That's just a Chrome, Edge, and Opera thing. I think it's a proposed thing. But it's not going to harm Safari or Firefox. They just won't take advantage of it. It's a little annoying because sometimes you have to set as. So like a preload, you have to actually tell the browser, hey, you're going to want to load this build.js file, and I need you to process it as script. If it's a module, though, as you see, there's preload and then dynamic import registry.js as script cross-origin anonymous. If it's a JS module, then you have to do this cross origin in order to load it correctly because it references other things. Or in the case of the WC registry.json, you see it's as fetch cross origin anonymous. That wasn't a really annoying one to figure out. But all that little block, basically you cheat on anywhere from 100 milliseconds to 800 milliseconds as far as how long it should take to process the initial parts of the script. Down from there, these are things that should improve mobile, like PWA type of styling and performance. It ships every icon type. It's got Facebook, Twitter / LinkedIn, whoever you want to credit for it, Open Graph metadata in there that it spits out. And then the fun one that we haven't, so the thing that does the actual using our assets, or the magic script, as Mike said, is on line 10 and line 9 up from where he is right there. Yeah. So those two, one setting a window global to imply, hey, get your assets from this CDN. And then the second is a build script that figures out if it should ship you ES6, ES5, or AS6 AMD compiled modules. I said ES6. We label it ES6, but it's actually ES8 because of Evergreen browsers. So it picks which version of the build to ship you. And then it's going to figure out by reading off the page what to hydrate, basically. So that gets you things like the HAX tag. Like when Mike puts the HAX tag in, he never actually imports that. Well, actually, you might import the HAX tag. I'm not positive, Mike, but
yeah, that specific tag.
Okay, yeah. So in other applications, we don't put definitions for the HAX tag now. Like our build routine is effectively a single point entry, which is also how Bob was able to hydrate that one tag on his website. He just pointed to those two lines basically on our internal CDN.
This page might be a better example.
Yes, that page is, yes, that one is hydrating. So we never define anywhere alley collapse. Post 3, I think, has it. Okay, so these tags that are in the page is alley collapse. There's a meme, and then this file is actually an MD block tag. Yeah, the image wasn't loading from the random generator for cats or whatever it was. This is an MD block tag that's loading a markdown file from GitHub. So those tags are never actually defined anywhere. The loader realizes they exist and that they aren't defined when they get added to the page, and then it hydrates those definitions on the fly.
As an example, I can put in rcoder. So this is a totally static site. This isn't even being served by 11D. This is just a straight up static site. If I refresh, oh, maybe rcoder is not.
Sure it's not being served by 11D?
I don't think so. Yeah, maybe I have that wrong.
I mean, you could load it as a static page and do it. But that's in the one code pen I keep.
Oh, I'm in the markdown file.
Yeah, I was going to say, you do need to compile it.
So as an example, let's go to post 3, and I can just load rcode somewhere on here. Rcoder. And it's loading. And then
hey, there's rcoder. So yeah, that's the magic script. But the other fun challenge that I don't know if we're going to actually do this yet, but it's at least interesting, is in the block right after it, be in the base liquid. So that's service worker fun stuff. So there's the deduping fix you see there. That is a little shim that makes it so that if there's two definitions of the same tag, it doesn't break the browser. It just ignores the second definition. Now, normally that would imply there's a build error. What we're doing here is using this project I found called ES Module Shims. And ES Module Shims basically shims a bunch of cool functionality in at runtime that isn't formally adopted via standards, but is chasing things that are going to become standards. So for example, you could do like import CSS from a CSS file and have it as an actual CSS document, which is not something you can do natively yet, but this shims it into the platform. The other major thing it shims in that we're using here is called an import map. So in some level, we are banking on that import maps are going to absolutely devastate certain communities pegged to things that rhyme with act and their build routines, because an import map allows you to define, hey, when you find an import, lit element / lit element.js, whenever you find that, I want you to actually look for it over here. So it's able to do the resolution dynamically as it's loading the files in. So if you look at that, the resolution we have there, we say anything that's lit element / it's going to dynamically resolve that to our CDN / lit element /. And then it also does a reference for LRN web components. So at runtime, it's going to process, I think it's in the hacks, yeah. So at runtime, that top piece is actually on the front end going to be evaluated as the CDN location / lit-element / lit-element.js. And then if you scroll down, Mike, there's the hacks. You have a dynamic import. So Mike imports simple toast and then calls for it. And then also dynamically imports hacks, but only if it's enabled, right? We don't need to pull hacks into the page and all the weight of the definition unless it's actually in an editing environment. It's going to take those, rewrite those as CDN name / at LRN web components / for anything it finds. So why I think this will be a big deal for what we're doing, and a little bit to what's been discussed around this like idea of editing in the browser type of a thing. We're able to write components the way that you should do it, not putting some giant CDN address in, or something that's going to be built at run or needs processing to run. This element is just being added to a page. Now the limitation is currently what Mike's showing only works in evergreen browsers. Because of this approach. The module shims can go back quite a few versions. However, if Mike's using the big arrow or whatever it's called, it's good, or spread operators, those end up getting, that's why you have compilers, right? So those things wouldn't work in an older version of Firefox, like his site would just brick. But it's I love the import maps thing. I don't know if it's something that we should really jump on this early. It is still very early, even though they've been discussed for like a year. But I really like the idea of just like open up this thing and start adding component references like you would normally. Mm-hmm. This will definitely help out a lot, I think, with the stuff we want to do with like a desktop app, Mike. If we have this ability to just throw whatever the heck we want in here, or even throw in the whole stinking Eleventy thing, and then whenever you want to publish your site, quote unquote, we just run this little Eleventy job or something.
Yep. Yeah, just to illustrate that, I put, so I'm referencing this bare import here, but if I look in the network for LRN button, you can see it's being loaded from the CDN. So that's just magic. That's so cool. Whereas before, you would think what would have to happen is that you would have to have this installed locally, and then you would have to run a build for your builder to go into your node modules directory, pull it out, and generate a big bundle that your browser could load. So potentially no more fighting with your bundlers and build steps.
What's a build step?
Andrew.
What's a build step? I don't even know what that is.
So yeah, that is Hacks 11D. Check it out, try it out. It's just pretty much a proof of concept stage right now, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I might find some students that are interested in doing side work and just send them at it to make little mini sites and give feedback on the developer experience associated. Because it just, all you'd have to do is make a folder, right? You make a folder with like post.md and you put that stuff at the top and now you have a new page.
Right.
So
yeah,
it'd be pretty sweet if we even just added a button or something that
create new page.
Yeah, like create new page and then set, has a field for title, and literally all it does is makes a new folder and puts that little bit of head matter at the top, right? I mean, you throw those two things in and some of the other it builds the sitemap.xml, rss.xml, robots.txt, and a service worker that should work when we push it out to an HTTPS environment. We still have to test it. But it builds those dynamically. Every new item that you add, that stuff just happens. Most of what I just described is like reasons we were working on Hack CMS. And I was able to port all that knowledge over to this in like 3 hours or so. So I still don't know what this is for yet. It might be for our own internal purposes to make little static sites very rapidly.
Yeah. Well, the audience that this would definitely hit is the developer community. Somebody that's looking, to put up a blog really easily that would like a Medium style editor. That is exactly what this project would give you.
Yeah, this might be our more, hey, you want to do the things that Hack CMS claims, but you don't want to have to make a whole stinking theme in our MobX state management world. Just make this static site, and create some little building block type of ways of assembling posts and whatnot.
Exactly.
Or I wonder if we could tie that in somehow. It's the only thing. Unfortunately, Colin's dropped off. He's the one that would be like, oh, Liquid's super easy. And meanwhile, I was struggling with getting certain things just working that would have been easy for me to do had I had access to, ES or template literals or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Luckily, 11 supports like 18 different languages. So templating languages. So
is that
you're in luck?
Oh, you used the word lucky. Oh, that's interesting. Lucky, because I was choking on something called nunchucks for a solid hour as I had no idea what that was. And it was like, oh, just get this plugin and then you have RSS support. And I was like, oh, sweet. And then it's like, I can't process this. I'm not a nunchuck file. Like, what the heck is a nunchuck file?
Dude, you don't even use Pug? I don't even want to talk to you right now.
Another one, yeah. I don't know. All right. So does anybody have anything else they want to talk about before we sign off for the day?
Well, Colin's cut out, so I guess I won't show the stuff that pertained to him.
You should just show it and then tell him to watch a recording. I'm totally cool with
like
that.
Out of spite?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could.
Yeah, you could do that.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, I like when people spite him, so that's fun.
Oh, God, you're awful. Hold on a second.
Solid Qbert background, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, see, I have the shirt and everything.